Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Sofirn SP35T, an EDC flashlight. First of all, thank you to Sofirn for sending this guy along. They provided this for review. However, they provided no monetary compensation, nor did they have any input into this video or any early access to it. This is purely my experience having used the light, although as I did not pay for the light myself, there's obviously a level of detachment that I try and compensate for in the review process. First of all, let's go ahead and get a size comparison, starting off with channel staples of a 91 and a 58mm Simon knife. Some more flashlight relevant comparisons. We have a AA and a AAA, and we can go ahead and get that girth comparison. And then we have an 18650 and a 21700. This is actually the cell that comes included with the light as a center. And then girth comparison. And then something that might be interesting to some people that have similar lights. This is the Olight Warrior 3S, and this is the Workhorse TD04. So all rather similar lengths here. And for a design overview, let's start by reinserting that cell. You can see inside we have a dual spring design. You can just see the other spring in there, and that basically means that when you drop this guy, as it's got springs on both sides under compression, it will just go against the springs, and so you're less likely to lose connection. It won't turn off as much or as easily if you drop it. Ooh. Now we have some nice grippy knurling on most of the flashlight, including the tail cap. On back we have some protective wings for the tail switch, and unlike some lights that do this, the wings are actually long enough to allow it to tail stand. Now it's not the most stable of things, but it can and will do it. We have some light crenulation up front. This will at the very least help you see if the light is on when it's down, but I guess in theory it also does have some minor effect on striking capability, but that's not really what this light is about. We have a rubberized mechanical switch in back for turning the light on and off, as well as momentary on. And then we have a switch with LED indicator up front for different mode selection. And around back we have USB-C recharging for that 21700. Now this does come included with a clip. However, it has just been my personal preference with this light in particular that I haven't really been using it with a clip. Clip itself though is reversible, so you could, if you want, mount this on a cap. It is a little bit long and heavy for that, but it is possible, and you could just mount up top like that. So if this was mounted, roughly this much of the flashlight would be protruding from your pocket. With that, let's go ahead and jump into the brightness and run times of the SP35T. Feel free to pause and read along if you'd rather. This has an eco mode of 5 lumens that will run for 220 hours, a low of 100 for 26 hours, a medium of 500 lumens for 6 hours and 58 minutes, not quite 7 hours there, 1500 lumens for 2 hours 28 minutes, and a turbo of 3800 lumens for 1 hour 45 minutes. Now with all turbos and to highs to some extent, obviously you're going to get some step downs. That's just not accounted for in the manual. And this is IPX8 water resistant, up to 2 meter underwater, not for diving. And it does have a standard drop resistance rating. Now for the UI, this is a dual switch design where to turn the light on you do have to press on the tail switch on the back, and then for most of your brightness changes you're going to be using the side switch. Pressing will just step through the brightnesses and then cycle back around, with the exception of turbo and eco mode. For turbo you just double click the side, or from off you can quickly double click. And then to get eco mode, you press and hold the side button while pressing the tail switch, and that gets you that nice 5 lumen low mode. And this will be a strobe warning, so if you are sensitive to flashing lights, please look away. With the light on, a triple click will get you into strobe, and then pressing will just step back out of that to the brightness that you were on previously. This does have a general, or I would call it a more EDC user mode. However, it does also have a tactical mode. Switching it between these is quite easy. you press and hold the side switch for 3 seconds, and that is while it's on. Then it should flash. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So I just went from general to tactical mode. Tactical means that when you use the tail switch to turn on, it is at turbo. Other brightnesses will not be memorized, but you can still use the side switch to cycle between medium and turbo. Now, if this also gives quick access to strobe, where if you double just quick on the tail, you'll get straight into strobe. And to switch back, it's just pressing and holding for 3 seconds again until it flips back into general mode. Now, before we get into the pros and cons of the SP35T, I do have to give my normal disclaimer with these kinds of lights, and I've done this with basically all the ones of this kind that I've covered on the channel, and that is that this is basically its own category of flashlight, right? This mechanical tail switch, side switch to change brightness, there are so many of these that it's basically its own category. It's not going to be for everybody because it is quite a clunky way of changing brightnesses. It does take a little bit of getting used to. Quite a lot of the time, people will grab a flash like this and turn it on that way, whereas you have to use the back. And personally, my preference for this style of light is something with an electronic switch that allows you to both use the tail and the front switch to use it as a tactical and EDC split. That is my personal preference. However, I do find myself quite fond of this style of light for a grab and go or a desk light, something that you can just quickly have on the table and then you just grab when you quickly need to look at something either outside or under the table, something like that. I think these are great for that. They're also great for just quick grab in your bag lights if you need something a little bright in the glove box, something along those lines. But you do need to consider before you purchase this or any of this style of light if this kind of, two switch setup is going to be for you. And if it's not, that's fine. If you just want to try it, these lights are pretty affordable if you want to give that system a go. Now, first of all, this is high quality whilst being very affordable. This is currently on sale when I just went to check the price, and you can get it for around £20, $25. Its regular price is also very accessible. So compared to the price, the build quality is very good. I mean, you get a nice deep orange peeled reflector, gives you a good beam that offers a wide amount of spot and flood. It's a very utilitarian beam. Overall, I think this is a well-built flashlight that does serve the tail switch genre quite well. I also like that these tail protectors here are equal enough and tall enough that you can tail stand the light. It does annoy me when you have these inserted on lights and then they're not flat enough or they're not long enough, they don't completely cover the button, which also kind of defeats the point of being there. So being able to tail stand is a big plus, as well as having that rechargeable here. This is a rubber flappy, and rubber flappies are a somewhat acceptable evil in the EDC world. As you can see, this one is kind of annoying to push and press back in at times, but that's actually a good thing because whilst it's annoying, it means it is providing a good seal to protect that USB-C charging port. Now, on the downside, again, this kind of split is not going to be for everyone. I do also think that whilst it does offer that eco mode, which is great for EDC purposes, it is a little clunky, although doable to get into it. It, just requiring to do something like this, or, something like this just to get to a particular mode simultaneously, it's not the best, but I understand that in this kind of UI, without having it in general rotation of brightnesses, they had to do something. Necessary evil. But I do also like, on the flip side though, that this does offer a quick access from the tail switch into turbo, even in general mode. That's something that lacks a lot of the time. But generally speaking, this is a good light. This is a decent light. There's no big obvious flaws here. This will roll because I do not have the clip on it. this will get the job done. These main selling points here are going to be the brightness and general quality, and the main things that you have to consider is if this situation is really for you. But generally speaking, I can recommend this if it is piquing your interest. There will be a link down in the description below. It is an affiliate link as well, helps out the channel. So if you would like to pick one of these up, go check that out. And whilst you're down there, I would appreciate a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think of the SP35T in the comments as well. I'd be interested in your thoughts if you own it, if you're interested. And I'd also be interested what you think about this whole UI arrangement. This is basically its own class of EDC flashlight. But thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel more directly and get more gear on the channel, please consider supporting directly through something like a coffee donation, YouTube membership, or Patreon. Until next time, I've been Paul, this has been the SP35T, and I'll see you in the next video.